hesitant about yet another new program. And when I went to the in-service on it, it seemed very overwhelming, but I liked the way that it was scripted. So I was just nervous about using it and wasn't sure how it was going to go.
When I was first introduced to CKLA, I really looked at it with a critical eye because I did not want to just take a curriculum and just use it without knowing that I believed in it. So I looked at it, I tried some of the lessons out, and then as I was doing it, I was seeing the benefits of it. So I didn't first trust it until I tried it, because I knew that in order for me to be an effective teacher with it, I needed to make sure that it was something that I thought would be worthwhile for my students and would help increase their knowledge of phonics and phonemic awareness.
I'm Kyle Conrath. I am a first-year, second-grade teacher at Franklin Peters Elementary. And this, as my first year, I was given the Core Knowledge curriculum to work on my foundational skills, and I thought it was really helpful because it helped me figure out what my kids needed. And it only took about 25 to 30 minutes a day, and I was able to give them the skills that the explicit instruction they needed to sound out the words, and that was linked directly to what they were reading for the day as well.
My initial thoughts were very skeptical in nature. I thought, oh, the district is telling us to do yet one more thing, and it doesn't always make the most perfect sense. And I thought, especially for the group of students I work with who are deaf and hard of hearing and by nature English language learners, that it was going to be too difficult. Like they wouldn't be able to access the phonics and phonemic awareness part, being able to hear the sounds and say the sounds. So I wasn't quite a fan and wasn't quite sure how I would teach what I was supposed to teach. I also thought that there is the standard of needing to be able to teach all the foundational skills, and I didn't think Journeys did a very good job of that, so I thought maybe this would be the answer for helping students get the skills that they need.
I was a little skeptical at first, and I wasn't sure how it was going to look in the classroom, and I was a little nervous because I wasn't very strong at teaching phonics. But then once I went to the training and saw some of it, I felt a little bit better because it is step by step. But I was also excited to see what improvements the children would make and how successful they could be.
My initial thoughts when I first went to the initial training over the summer, I was a little concerned about some of the aspects that were being taught to us, especially not naming letters, just something I wasn't used to. I guess I wasn't really concerned. It was more getting used to a different style of teaching letter sounds and eventually teaching reading.
So my initial reaction of the CKLA program was that I really didn't have one yet. I felt like I didn't have enough time yet to really form an opinion about the program. So as time went on, I discovered that I really liked the program. Other coworkers were asking me of my opinion, and I told them that I really liked the program so far. I didn't know quite where it was going. It seemed like it was going slow at first, and I did have trouble with the program dictating to us that we weren't supposed to introduce writing to the kids yet, or that they weren't supposed to write certain words until January.
When I first heard we were going into CKLA, after all these years of planning Journeys, I have everything ready, my workstations, I'm set for the year. I was like, no, I'm not going to the training, I'm not doing CKLA, I'm just going to continue with Journeys and maybe put CKLA in sometimes.
I actually love CKLA. I find it very easy to use now that I'm used to it. The first month was a learning process. I find that the kids really respond well to it. The beginning was a great review for them, and I really like how it incorporates writing and close readings with it, and things are going great.
For each lesson, it talks about which standards are being addressed. And every week you have a spelling test that deals with those sound patterns that you've been teaching. So I can easily take that and move that right to the report card. After each unit, I have activities, assessments that I can do that I can also take right and move it right to my report card because it tells me exactly which standard it's meeting. One of the cons is that there's a lot of different components of it. So sometimes I feel a little clumsy when I'm teaching it because I'm not very comfortable at times. So, you have to know where all your materials are because you're not using the same thing every day. One day you're using sound cards, but then you may not use them for a while. So you have to always be prepared ahead of time for that. And then there's things that you have to make, which is a part of any reading curriculum. So we just have to make sure that we're prepared. That would probably be the biggest con that I have, is just making sure I'm prepared enough for the lesson.
The positive things about Core Knolwedge is that it provides a common language. So if we're talking about consonant digraphs or vowel digraphs, I know that what I've taught in my classroom is taught in other classrooms, and so students know what's expected of them. It also helps me to hold students accountable because I know that I've taught them something, we've practiced it, we've learned it, so I want to see it in other parts of their work, whether it's reading or writing, doing a read, write, think unit. I'd want to see that evident in their work. I also think that with assessment, I have to do a few extra things to suit the needs of my students, but I do a lot of reviewing of the tricky words, and I do a lot of reviewing of letter sounds. And it's been very beneficial to document their progress as far as like a progress monitoring tool. And so if any of you have to do things with dibbles or with intervention, this is great documentation to show evidence of student growth.
I've noticed that a lot of the students, if they're working independently and there's a word they don't know, they are starting to sound it out.
I find the pros with teaching CKLA are the children are very engaged, even in a whole group setting. CKLA is set up for a whole group, and we're just starting to work into the small groups, but I would say a pro is that the children are very engaged even when it's a whole group. I would say if I had to think of a con, I guess it would be that I have a little bit less time to have a concentrated group, but as I'm working into the lessons in Unit 5, they are actually setting us up for small groups, so I guess I can't really say it's a con.
So some of the pros of teaching the program for a couple of months is that I can definitely see where the program is going. I've noticed a difference in my children's, the students' handwriting. The handwriting looks wonderful. It looks amazing. I love that it started off with the diagonal lines, the candy cane formations. I love how it introduced the different ways to form letters. And I can definitely see where that's taking the students, and right now I can say that I am totally just overjoyed at how their handwriting is looking. I even had someone walk through my classroom a couple weeks ago that expressed how wonderful their handwriting looks. So
These kids really are learning to read already. At first you're worried, like, oh my gosh, what about the word wall? Where are the words? The kids are reading. They're sounding out these words, and they're writing. Their penmanship is amazing. They know how to form letters correctly. They know how to use this working sound wall to form words. And I'm seeing much more progress in reading than I did with journeys, actually.
Other than that, there aren't that many cons. Really, you can do it. The script is there. It gives you a structure to follow, which is really helpful when you have so many other things to do.